allows us to target professionals and people we have things in common with to talk about our business. And it's an appropriate platform to talk about our business, right? Like if I go out on Facebook and I reach out to somebody and I say, hey, I want to connect, and by the way, I'm a real estate agent, blah, 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 they're not going to give me the time of day because it's just really, frankly, not the right place. But LinkedIn is the right place to talk about your professional chops. And so my previous lives, career lives prior to real estate was I went to college at Ohio State. I lived in Cleveland for 4 years, moved out to Denver, started working for a software startup, kind of bootstrapped my way up to chief operations officer, which is a big title for a super small firm. We got acquired 3 years ago by a company out of New York. I worked for them for a little while and got disenchanted with it and wanted to ultimately get into real estate because I've always had an infatuation with real estate. And so I say that not to talk about myself, but to tell you what I tell people in my message in LinkedIn. So my first message, and this is all from coaching from my LinkedIn Solutions team, is, I just say, hi, I would like to connect and grow my professional network. For my alumni here, my alumni connections here in the Denver metro area and in Boulder, I use a slightly different message and I say, hey, I'm just looking to connect with local alumni. And then they connect, and then if they don't respond, there's another automated message that goes out that talks about that whole career arc. It also talks about a couple mountain properties that I've purchased and then I self-manage as short-term rentals in a couple mountain towns of Crested Butte, Colorado and Dillon, Colorado. There's, for people that are in the Front Range, which is the Denver metro area, a lot of people like the idea of buying a mountain property and short-term renting it out and having the utility to use it for themselves and their family. And so I think that one of the things that's been really successful for me is not only talking about my background, because I think it does give me some credibility as a business person, but also talking about things I've done with real estate that other people are interested in. And in your respective market, that could be, just generally investment properties. It could be just generally success stories. It could be different things, but in my market, it's, mountain properties is something that's natural for me and makes sense for me to talk about. And so, kind of all these things come together, alumni network, professional background, real estate is an investment with a utility. All these things come together to get quite a good response from a lot of the people that I connect with. And it's a numbers game, right? And Casey, I'm sure you'll talk about that, but certainly, I'm sure there's plenty of people that don't respond or just give me the kind of the canned LinkedIn response, which is another thing that is probably worth mentioning that I've kind of keyed into is, a lot of times people just respond, will do, thanks, right? And so if you use LinkedIn at all, that that's just a push of a button to kind of politely respond to somebody and just continue moving on with your day. And so if I have time in my day, I'll still try to chat those people up, ask them, do a little research on what their profile looks like, what they're currently doing, ask them how their business is. If I don't have time in my day, I that's kind of clutter that I don't deal with, and I don't try to chat those people up, and I really focus on the people that are clearly typing letters into their keyboard and clearly giving me a response, because that shows intent and engagement, right? And so that's one of the things that I've keyed off of. And you just try to have conversations and ultimately try to get on the phone with people. And if you get on the phone with people and have real estate conversations, good things happen.
100%. And you said a couple of really interesting points there, and I'll touch upon a couple of them before our next question. But the one I like the most is how people in general can understand the differentiation between LinkedIn and other social media platforms for the purposes of sales, right? For the purposes of growing a business. And that there's a wise man once told me that there's really 2 or 3 ways that people generate business in real estate in general. One, and like the cream of the crop is through like a referral. So it's like someone that has worked with you in the past refers you to another client who understands that. So there's that immediate trust, right? The second way people generate business in real estate is through the prospect kind of doing their own research, like them Googling top realtor in Boulder or top realtor in Saskatchewan or wherever. That way they're doing their own vetting process. And then the third is the realtor or real estate professional lender also doing like their own outreach, like they're cold prospecting. So like they're cold calling, door knocking, etc. What I like about LinkedIn versus other social media platforms is I think we're kind of somewhere in between the referral component and them doing their own research, right? If you think about it. And here's why. When you're doing a cold call or just a cold message anyway, a cold email, cold call, even door knocking, the difficulty isn't just picking the phone and calling. The difficulty is building that trust and gaining that rapport really quickly before they slam the door in your face or hang up, etc. Right? What I love about LinkedIn is you get to know a person before you even know them, and vice versa. They get to know you before they even know you, right? And so when you're sending these messages to people via LinkedIn, likely what they're doing is they're looking at your profile. You know, this guy Nick, he said we went to the same university. Let me see. Let me make sure that this is the correct. Yep, he went to the same university as I did. Oh, and it looks like we also have several mutual connections in common. He must be a good guy if he knows my friend John, and maybe you just sold John a house. So there's a way of prospects vetting you before even responding, right? And so that kind of leads into like the next nuanced thing that you mentioned earlier is the canned responses, right? And so if they reply and they've done their vetting process, if they reply with a standard like will do or no thanks or thanks, you know that they aren't really that engaged or aren't that willing to engage with you because maybe they're busy and maybe it's not the right time or whatever it may be. But if someone does take the time to then write out a custom response, that's fantastic. I'm not looking to buy a house now, but I might be next year. I would love to work with a fellow Gaucho alumni or Spartan or whatever your particular university's mascot is. That's a custom response that you want to then that you also do very well at engaging with them and kind of like bringing them to the next level and like kind of starting to have a conversation. And at that point, you said earlier, you have a lot of other information and knowledge that you can kind of bestow upon people that isn't directly asking for business, which I think is huge because at a certain point, real estate is a numbers game and a timing game. But if you continue to be this like trusted resource to someone without having to necessarily, schedule a call or let's grab coffee, it's hey, I just want to give you information, and you start to develop this relationship, even though it's on LinkedIn, that is extremely valuable.
Yeah, I think that's right on point, Casey, and something I really didn't talk about too much, but I do present myself as just wanting to be a trusted resource for their family and friends in the area. And then my posts support that, right? Like, so I'm, I frankly probably could do more of it, but posting industry news, what's the market like? Particularly during this time of the pandemic, everybody's wondering, is the bottom going to fall out of the market? Which obviously we haven't seen it. Everybody's kind of waiting for that shoe to drop, everybody that's not in the industry. My market has been growing for over 40 years. So I show them an appreciation chart that's 40 years long that shows, the years that all hell was breaking loose and the market dropped by 2%. And then when it rebounded, it went up by 10%. So which do you really want to play with that timing? Or do you just want to find the right fit and be picky and go find the right place? And so, in that kind of industry, those kinds of posts on LinkedIn just continue to support the idea of you as an industry thought leader and someone who can be valuable to them.
Exactly. No, it's funny. It's kind of just, if there's like 0 to 100 in terms of like your LinkedIn influence, it's kind of, like the automation tools behind LinkedIn kind of puts your or provides your LinkedIn influence with rocket fuel. So, now if your network was only 500 people, and when you post something that's, savvy or business related about the market on your LinkedIn, if you have 500 connections, you might get 300 or so views of it. But if you have 10,000, 15,000 connections, now your ability to position yourself as a LinkedIn thought leader or a LinkedIn influencer has just skyrocketed. So, and yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, this is a nurture game. I mean, it's similar to like the approach, and I hate the comparison of real estate professionals to car dealers, just because I think, and no offense to car dealers, but it's just, there's a certain perception, right? Like when I go onto a lot, I don't really kind of show my cards early on saying that I'm going to be looking to buy a car right now, because I don't want to be hounded and just trying to get the commission check. Similarly, I think people who are potential clients of yours or of ours are doing a similar thing. They may not volunteer immediately on LinkedIn that they are looking to buy or sell a home, right? I mean, they're probably kind of holding that close to their chest. So they don't want to be hounded for a meeting. They're not ready. But if you can just continue to engage with them, post things on LinkedIn, engage with their posts potentially, and just position yourself as a thought leader and just provide information to them either directly through like a LinkedIn message and a LinkedIn conversation, or indirectly through posting, I think that's a huge benefit. And then when the time does come for them to look to buy or sell, they're going to remember you as the person who was nice enough to provide them information, even though they weren't ready yet. All right. It's like, I mean, renter, oftentimes renters got to get a little self-conscious. It's like, oh, I'm still renting. But if you're still up there and you're kind of providing information, oh, here's a list of the current rental properties available in your area. If you're just giving value, people certainly appreciate that.
Yeah. And how many times do renters, are they curious about the process, but they don't know enough to even ask the right questions? And so, I've had plenty of conversations with people that just aren't qualified, right? But just getting them to a finance person to have those conversations so that they can eventually position themselves to be qualified in 3 to 5 to 7 years. They're going to remember that about you, and your mortgage person is going to also appreciate, your mortgage partner is also going to appreciate how, you just introducing them to people and showing activity, right? And so it just perpetuates your influence throughout your entire network. And so, that's the other kind of hidden gem of all this, is that it helps me build my network. I can't tell you how many different partners that I've been able to get introduced to and develop a relationship with that I know are going to come in handy down the road. I mean, I've one in particular that I would have never seeked out myself is an art consultant. He's like, hey, I see your real estate. So one of the things I say in my messages is I just want to see how we can help each other's business. And so people will respond with, yeah, let's have a conversation. And so you'll just have these conversations that are going to go absolutely nowhere from a real estate perspective, at least in that direct conversation. But it's just all planting a seed. And then sometimes it's collecting cards and collecting people that can ultimately help your clients. So
Yep.
Got somebody moving from out of town. They want custom art in their house. They don't know which shops to go to or who to go talk to. Guess what? I have a person now I didn't have before.
Yep. And likewise, you probably have a list of resources that you can provide them if they're looking for a contractor or a plumber or an electrician. Like, people can kind of lean on us to provide those referrals as well. Yeah. So one thing that, again, and I keep digging into you just because I feel like we have hundreds of clients using our LinkedIn automation services, right? But what I love about your approach is just the authenticity you bring to the table. There are other automation tools out there, but if you don't do it correctly, if you don't leverage it correctly, it could even be bad for your brand, right? But you do it so well, and you engage with them in a way that's so genuine and organic that people tend to then open up. And and things that they wouldn't open up about with just one or two messages, right? I mean, so I get this all the time, and I'm actually using you as like inspiration to do this for my own real estate practice, where referrals, right? Like referrals is such an incredibly lucrative opportunity for people that don't necessarily leverage. And it's I mean 25% for having to do nothing. It's incredible. So one thing I wanted to, I mean, people don't just say, you know, I don't have enough money to buy a house in Santa Barbara, which is where I'm a realtor. They don't just say that, you know, like they don't like saying I'm renting now and I need to move out of Santa Barbara because I want to buy a house and raise a family in Austin or wherever in Texas. They don't say that. But if they say, you know, I'm renting currently, I'm not looking to sell or buy, oh, great. Well, where are you renting? Where do you live? Like what, you know, why do you want to live here? Like, what do you do? So you kind of have a conversation. Then they'll say, I'm looking to potentially move to Austin or move to Saskatchewan to buy a home and raise a family. Then it makes sense for you to then jump in and create this sort of referral relationship. So maybe Nick, can you give us a couple examples of how those have transpired? Because you've gotten more referrals in the past 5 months than I've ever had in the past 2 years.
Yeah. And so I love referrals. I love giving them and I love receiving them, right? I mean, it's just because there's an instant, to kind of what you said earlier, Casey, there's an instant credibility that comes along with a referral. Like as soon as you say, okay, I'm not right for your business, but I know someone who is, and I'm a professional telling you this, first of all, I have instant credibility saying, oh, so this guy's not going to try to fit a square peg in a round hole. And he's putting me with someone else. And who's better to tell me who's good to work with than somebody who does it every day themselves? And so they come with instant credibility. And I love referrals because, like you said, it's great compensation. It's very lucrative. But I also love referrals because of the instant credibility you get. You don't have to build that credibility from square one. But for me personally, some, you know, real world stories is, you know, it kind of fits in well with what I introduced myself with. I've got a couple properties in the mountains and I have conversations with people all the time who are looking to do the same thing. You know, I've gotten a referral from Steamboat Springs, Colorado. I've gotten a referral from Breckenridge, Colorado. And then I also had a guy just say, hey, you know, I'm not looking to do any business here in Denver, but my daughter is moving to Orlando to go to school. We'd like to buy a 2-bedroom condo. You know anybody? Of course I know somebody, right? Of course I do. And so you put that together and you piece that together and then, you know, 3 months later, inevitably, they come back and say, hey, Nick, we just closed on it. And you're like, that's a nice surprise for the week, you know? And it's extremely lucrative. And I'm expecting that person that I referred to in Orlando, you know, you go find somebody credible in the market. Now I'm that person's referral agent here in Boulder, if they have anybody coming back this way. And the client who lives in Denver, whose daughter moved to Orlando, you know, thinks of me as their real estate resource. And so it's just, you know, maybe it doesn't fit into the perfect traditional real estate, like I'm working with you directly to help you buy or sell a home, but all these things perpetuate themselves. And you know, I'll use the planting the seeds analogy again. I mean, it pays off immediately, but then I have no doubt that it's going to pay off in the years ahead as well.
Yeah, that's great. And just so some of the folks know, we do have a lot of our clients leveraging our system, particularly for finding referral business. You know, finding referral business isn't always easy in certain cities, but for a lot of other like kind of destinations like Park City, Utah, even Santa Barbara, California, Boulder, Colorado, where it's more of like a potentially, well, Boulder's not really a vacation home, but it's people who live in Boulder sometimes have a vacation home in Austin, right? They might have different homes in different areas. So we have several clients who they always tell me, look, I don't want to prospect to people who live in my city, my destination vacation home city. I want to find people, most of my prospects come from feeder cities. So if you're in Scottsdale, Arizona, for example, rather than trying to find people from Scottsdale who want to buy or sell in Scottsdale. What they're doing is they're reaching out to other realtors and real estate professionals in the cities where their clients usually come from. So they'll be reaching out to probably Nick up in Boulder because there's a lot of kind of trade back between, you know, a mountain town and a desert town. And so you can kind of trade referrals that way because, and it's a lot easier to get referrals through that sort of campaign rather than trying to find prospects directly from Boulder. You reach out to realtors and real estate professionals like, hey, I would love to exchange referrals. You know, I have a lot of clients that go to Boulder, and I'm sure, and I know a lot of our clients come from Boulder to buy in Scottsdale, right? So there's a lot of good trade back there that happens. And again, it doesn't happen automatically. It takes some time to nurture that sort of relationship. But if you do it well and you do it diligently and you do it organically, it'll pay off in spades.
Yeah, no doubt. Casey, I didn't know you guys did that. I've actually had that idea on my own. That I've wanted to do that I've wanted to reach out to, you know, the markets that people come from and kind of build those relationships. I think that's genius.
Well, we can help you with that. It's really effective. And just so a lot of the attendees know, there are a lot of different kind of campaigns we can run. And so if you're a client of ours and you're watching this webinar, I highly recommend you scheduling a strategy call with our success manager, Thomas. He has a ton of experience using all the different types of scripts. We can kind of help tailor what your business goals are with the right campaigns. And just so like people also understand, let me kind of take a quick step back and kind of explain what our system is doing in the back end. So MyLink Solution, we are a full service LinkedIn automation service company. So basically what our system does is we sync our software with your LinkedIn account. We can then use, you know, your information, kind of who you're looking to reach out to, what kind of campaigns you want to create. We can find your ideal customer you're looking to reach out to on LinkedIn. We can then put them into an automated yet customized sequence campaign on LinkedIn and send out about 50 to 100 invitation connection requests per day on your behalf. And so when those people connect with you on LinkedIn, they'll then receive a follow-up message that's, again, automated and customized. And so that literally all you have to do is once we open the door and they respond to you, your job is to then jump in and continue with that engagement and to continue with that conversation, to kind of open up their code a little bit and kind of like get to know them and then see how you can help them out. So what are some other things, Nick, that you've been doing that you think our attendees can learn from? I know you've been doing the alumni campaign. I guess, yeah. So maybe give us an example of kind of one of your recent sales that's occurred as a result of our system.
Sure. Yeah, I'll give you a couple examples. So one of the sales was an alumni campaign connection that just connected because he was interested in mountain places. Had the conversation with him, spent an hour with him talking to him about Vail Resorts and the communities up there. Actually referred him to a broker up there, and then he connected me with his father, who was looking to move here from Cincinnati, Ohio, and then I found out 3 months later that he kind of soft pedaled the idea that, you know, he was also looking to kind of move neighborhoods in Denver from one to another. But I just always come from a resource standpoint. I'm never a hard sell type guy. And so I kind of just said, I'd love to help you with that when the time comes. So I helped his father buy a place. And then he comes back to me and he says, hey, Nick, as you know, we've been working with a realtor here in Denver. I'm like, I didn't know that. Why are you introducing me to your father? And long story short, the other guy was a part-time real estate agent, worked for somebody else. And so he said, I didn't want my father to work with a part-time real estate agent. The guy I've been working with is a personal friend, but I've been impressed with what you've been able to do with my father. And I said, okay, happy to chat with you about what's going on with you. And, no requirements whatsoever to work with me. Long story short, turned into a sell and a buy with his properties that just closed recently. And so that's one example where you just have a conversation where you're just trying to be a resource for somebody, or maybe trying to get a referral, and you never know where it's going to turn up. And that's one of my biggest takeaways here, Casey, is, this is the ultimate hustle, right? Maybe it's not the ultimate hustle, but this is an awesome hustle that is the real estate business. And so you just have conversations, like activity creates business, and you just don't know where it's going to come from. And for me, one of the biggest benefits of my LinkedIn solutions is a fairly new agent who I know deep down inside I'm not having enough real estate conversations with people. I'm not as active as I want to be, but I'm also not the guy who's going to go chat up the guy in the coffee line and be like, hey, if I don't have anything to talk to them about, I'm not going to find, something stupid to talk to them about. That's just not who I am. I wish I was better at that. I'm just, maybe I'll get better at that over time. I don't know, but I want to have legitimate real estate conversations with people that also want to have legitimate real estate conversations. And LinkedIn and my LinkedIn solutions created those conversations for me. Another one was, an entry level single person who, young professional, was concerned about what COVID was going to do to the market, wanted to stop paying rent, but wanted to buy a home, wasn't going to be able to operate at the mid-level of the market. We knew super competitive market here in the Denver metro area. A lot of times at that level, you're dealing with cash buyers, investors, and so on. And she knew that it was just going to be an uphill battle, but I convinced her, kind of through that appreciation chart that I talked about earlier, that, trying to time the market or think that the bottom's going to fall out of it is just not realistic. Like the numbers just don't play that out. And so that was successful with getting her into her first home about a month ago. And so, I mean, those are just two examples where people just kind of, I guess to your point, Casey, didn't come out and say, hey, call me, I'm looking to buy a house. It was like, hey, I want to hear about your mountain properties, or, it's nice to have this connection, blah, 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 blah. And you just continue that conversation. It's you don't need everyone to say yes, and you don't need to be successful with everyone. You're not making, small, tiny commissions on these things. You only need a few of them. And a lot of our markets, you only need a few of them to really make a difference for you.
Yeah, one thing you said that I really resonated with. So personally, I'm an introvert. I don't usually like going to networking events. I don't like talking to the person in the coffee line. I don't like advertising to people personally that I'm a realtor and I'm looking for their business. I've never liked that mentality personally, because I always feel like I'm trying to use a person as a means to an end rather than an end in and of themselves. And so I rely a lot on technology and text messaging and LinkedIn and social media in order to generate these sort of conversations. But it's not easy to do manually. And one thing that you said that kind of reminded me of a conversation I had with Frank Gray, who's the host of the National Real Estate Post and one of our clients and friends. He likes my link solution in particular because it's guilt-free prospecting. And what I mean by that is when real estate professionals, lenders, realtors alike, if you go through a day and you don't do your regimented prospecting for the day, your 100 cold calls or your 50 door knocks or whatever you have planned, you feel guilty. You feel like, oh man, I can't believe I didn't do my prospecting for the day. What he likes about MyLink Solution is the fact that we do your prospecting for you automatically. You can go to bed one day or one night and wake up the next morning with another list of conversations and prospects to start engaging with. So for me, it's a perfect platform because I don't have to meet them personally necessarily, but I can continue to have these genuine conversations via LinkedIn, and the door's already opened. So that's one thing I wanted to kind of talk about too, is just if for someone like me and other real, and it works for anyone really, but just the whole guilt-free aspect is pretty cool. one thing I wanted to mention too is the importance of having a LinkedIn profile, because, you know, in addition to, you know, being genuine and organic and engaging and coming from contribution, having a comprehensive and detailed LinkedIn profile, that just allows you to have more organic conversations with potential prospects. And so one question we get a lot from a lot of our clients is how should I build out my LinkedIn profile? You know, I mean, I don't think, you know, the fact that I was a teacher, you know, 20 years ago makes a difference. You know, like it doesn't show that I'm a successful realtor. But you have to understand, like, people like doing real estate are people that they know, like, and trust. You know, I can't tell you how many teachers, healthcare workers, you know, people that are coming from the tech industry or from finance, they put all of their history and experiences on their LinkedIn profile. Then when you're sending out messages, they're looking at your profile and they don't really care. I mean, real estate is not rocket science. I mean, anyone can really run a real estate transaction. But what people really want is they want to be able to know that, am I doing business with someone that I know, like, and trust? I mean, one of our top clients, this gal Mel Parsons, she was a midwife previous to becoming a realtor, and so she was doing a healthcare campaign where she was reaching out to everyone in the healthcare industry in the Seattle area, saying like, hey, you know, great to meet you. You know, thank you for everything you do for our community, being in healthcare. You know, I used to be a midwife previous to this, and I really respect what you do for our community. Now I'm a realtor and I wanted to offer you our local heroes program or some sort of like discount or credit, if you allow me to help you with the next home purchase or sale. And she has had such great success with it because, again, people would like to do business with someone they know from the healthcare industry. So yeah, I mean, it's just, so having a really comprehensive profile, and I can send people, if you request it, a LinkedIn blueprint on how to enhance your LinkedIn profile correctly, and or a video that kind of shows you like step by step what to do. But yeah, that's super important. Has it, so because you mentioned earlier, Nick, that your background has gotten you some business, correct?
Yeah, and I think that the advice you just laid out there is right on point, because you're just trying to give people something that they connect with, right? And what do you want? What's better for them to connect with than who you are as a genuine person? And who you are as a genuine person is what you've done, you know, part of it's what you've done in the past and your experiences. And so, you know, I think that's great advice. You know, that's why the alumni campaign works so well. That's why, you know, that's why putting all that information out there makes a lot of sense, because you're just trying to give people something that they create an affinity about, and you certainly don't want to make that up. So just be who you are out there, and the people that are attracted to that will be attracted to that, and those, frankly, are probably the people that you're going to have the most success with, anyways. And the people that aren't. But this is a numbers game. You're connected with so many people that, frankly, it doesn't matter. You just want to find the people that are actually good connections for you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Nick. I know we're kind of reaching, I think I said this would be a 30 to 45-minute webinar, so kind of wrap things up a little bit. You know, one thing that our team absolutely loves is to really dig deep into one of our clients' profiles and business model to kind of determine what the right strategy would be for their particular goals, right? And so, you know, we like to do a lot of research, look through their past history and experiences, and go, you would crush it with an alumni camp. Oh, you live in Los Angeles and you went to USC, you would crush it with our alumni campaign. Oh, you live in a destination location, like, and your buyers come from Austin or you know, Tampa Bay or wherever, you'd crush it with like a referral program. So so when all the attendees, if you're, you know, a client, great, you don't have to schedule a strategy call, we can help kind of dive deeper into things. But if you're attending and you want to kind of learn more about what kind of solution would be best for you, schedule a demo with our team. We have trained some really trained professionals who I have to say are probably better than I am in terms of strategizing good campaigns. So schedule a call with our team, and they will dive deep into your business model and help customize the solution that works best for you. So, oh, and we're also offering half off your first month currently through the end of November. So if you do decide to sign up for our services between now and the end of November, you'll receive half off your first month. Thomas, are you there? Are there any questions that people have?
Yeah, Dane Shackelford asked a pretty good question, if you can see that.
Can you repeat the question? I don't see it.
Yeah, he asked, does MyLink solution work to generate leads for companies or just individuals on LinkedIn? So that's a pretty good question that I think maybe you can speak a little bit to more specifically how the searches work on Sales Navigator and my LinkedIn solution.
100%. Yeah. So great question. Our system needs to sync with an individual LinkedIn profile. So we can't send out messages from a company page if that's a component of his question. And then what we do is we would find individuals that work at companies. So if you're looking to target, a big tech company, Microsoft, Google, you can. There's such amazing filters that, in fact, let me show you real fast the sorts of targeting that you can do on LinkedIn, because it's something that other social media platforms don't allow. And it kind of goes into other questions I've seen too about like whether or not you need to have a premium account. And the answer is yes, you do need to have a premium account. It's called Sales Navigator. The reason why we require Sales Navigator is for twofold. A, it increases the threshold of activity that you're allowed to have on LinkedIn per LinkedIn's terms of service, as well as it really allows us to hone in on the right target audience. So, if you're looking for people that work in healthcare, you can find people that work in healthcare. If you're looking for people who are alumni from a certain area, you can look into alumni of USC. You can even filter it down based on seniority level. You can find CEOs, founders, partners, directors, owners with X number of years experience with, the title of CTO or the title of founder, owner, whatever it may be. So there's incredible ways of filtering for your ideal customer profile. And using your individual profile on LinkedIn, we can find them on LinkedIn for you, connect you with them, and engage with them. So again, all you have to do is respond. So the fee structure is one of the questions. So Sales Navigator is $80 a month. I believe they give you a 1 month free trial. So I would definitely give that a shot. Even if you don't use our services, play around with it and see if you like it. You could, by the way, manually message everyone that from here. You can connect with them yourself and send manual messages. It just takes forever. What our services do is we can help you find the right audience, and then we can put them into automated connection campaigns. Our services are $270 a month. And then if you, again, sign up between now and the end of the month, then we'll give you half off your first month. So it'll be $135 for your first month out the door. Any other questions for Nick? Nick, it looks like you're already getting some fans. Dominique Van Reikendem just sent you a connection request.
Wonderful. Yeah, I'm happy to connect with anybody out there and happy to continue the conversation here and continue to help each other. Activity creates business in our world. And so, again, I think my final takeaway is just simply don't turn down any phone calls, from anybody. Have those conversations, and, at the worst case, you've wasted maybe 15 minutes of your day. But I think that, the service is proven to create real estate conversations, and real estate conversations turn into business. And so I think that, Casey, I thank you and your team for kind of the value you provide for me.
Well, thank you, Nick. I certainly appreciate you, and you're definitely a living testament of, engagement, conversations creates business, activity creates business. So if you're out there, just listen to what Nick says. Like, don't be afraid. I mean, it's LinkedIn. It's harmless. Go out there, put yourself, make yourself available. Be an abundance thinker rather than a scarcity thinker. Provide value. Come from contribution. All those cliche sayings, but actions speak louder than words. So just get out there, create some activity, and get some business. It is out there. Yeah, listings are kind of down, inventory is kind of low, all that stuff. But I guarantee you, if you start messing with LinkedIn and start engaging with people, you will definitely get some business from it.
In Casey, as a final testament, I'll throw some numbers on there. I started this campaign with less than 300 connections on LinkedIn. I just ignored it. And those are 300 connections from the time I graduated college until I met you guys. And now I have over 2,300 connections. And the times that I've actually gotten a message and I'm even counting like a no thanks is like a push away message I can count on one hand.
Yep.
And so, people and it's amazing how people feel obligated to respond, frankly. It's just absolutely, it blows me away all the time. Like, I can't believe that this many people are even taking the time to even just push a button and say, "Will do, thanks." It's just, there's some kind of weird instant credibility that comes through a LinkedIn connection that people take seriously.
Yeah. Yeah. And also just kind of piggyback on that. I started with 500 connections when I started to develop this. I have now over 17,000 connections on LinkedIn. Which is a lot. I mean, so whenever you post, you get a lot more exposure. But also, one last little quick caveat is we can also send you a download of all of your connections' contact information, which includes first name, last name, title, company, location, email, and phone number if they provide it. So, I mean, we haven't even touched upon that. That might be for a different webinar, but you can upload them onto a Facebook as a custom audience. You can do so much with that data. I put them on email drips, newsletters, etc. And again, it just helps with the whole nurture thing. You come for contribution, send them market snapshots, and eventually they will reach out to you. So I'll leave it there. Nick, you're the man. Thank you for joining this. I really appreciate it. I'm amazed at your production, and I really hope a lot of the attendees, I'm sure they have gained a lot of insight from your experiences.
Yep. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
All right. And everyone, we're going to be sending over a recorded version of this too, so you can reference some key points later on. But thanks to everyone for joining, and we'll talk to you later. Bye, Nick.
Goodbye.